the founder of Trident Limited and non-executive co-chairman of their board. He holds directorship of various companies and is also actively associated with several philanthropic ventures. He was awarded the prestigious Padma Shri in 2007 by then President of India in recognition of his distinguished services in the field of trade and industry. We extend a warm welcome to you, sir.
Our next panelist is Mr. Abhijit Datta. Mr. Abhijit is the current Managing Director of Accenture Technology Solutions in India. Prior to his current stint with Accenture, Sir has served as a Senior Director of Capgemini, where he was responsible for the key client engagement in the European region in the era of SAP. He holds a postgraduate degree in Operations and Systems from the National Institute of Industrial Engineering and has done his graduation in Mechanical Engineering from Maulana Azad National Institute of Engineering. IIM Nagpur is elated to have you with us today.
Our next panelist for the day is Mr. Venkatesh Natarajan. Mr. Venkatesh is currently serving as President IT and Chief Digital Officer at Ashok Leyland, as has been responsible for evangelizing and turbocharging digital technology practices and creating a pan-organization data-driven culture. He has won multiple awards and recognitions for his technology stewardship and excellence in the area of IT-led business transformation. IIM Nagpur is thrilled to have you in our midst, sir.
Our next panelist is Mr. Anirban Bhattacharya. Mr. Anirban is the current chairman of Apollo Global USA. Sir has over 20 years of experience in strategy, research and development, and improving supply chain processes. He has worked at the global corporations like IBM, Capgemini, KPMG, and among others. He has utilized his professional experience to create Apollo Global Incorporation, an artificial intelligence-enabled Industry 4.0-led risk management product company. It is a pleasure to have you with us today, sir.
Our moderator for today is Professor Chandan Chaudhary. Professor Chandan is a Senior Associate Dean and a Practice Professor of Operations Management and Information Systems at the Indian School of Business. Prior to joining ISB, he served at top 3 multinationals as Managing Directors and Country Manager. Professor Chandan has been a recipient of numerous awards, and his special areas of interest are operations and manufacturing management, innovation and technology-enabled business transformation, and smart and sustainable cities. It's a pleasure to have you with us, sir.
At IIM Nagpur, we strongly believe in creating a sustainable environment, and thus it is our tradition to present our guests with a unique living and breathing gift that reflects our ethos. Respected sirs, a tree has been planted on each of your behalves on the periphery of the Sundarbans forest in the West Bengal as a part of Trees for Tiger program, and the certificate for the same would be mailed to you shortly. The certificates are displayed on the screen, sir.
Without any further ado, we would like to invite Professor Chandan Chaudhary to commence the panel discussion. Excuse me, sir, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you're perfectly audible.
Yeah. So I would like to thank both of you for introducing all of us in the panel. And we really have people who have got a lot of experience in the field. And the entire focus of the discussion is going to be how do you create a future-ready organization? And we have seen a lot of disruption during pandemic. And I think, this is the right time to have some introspection and have this conversation. I would like to start with VN, and many in the industry know that Venkatesh Natarajan, we call him as VN. VN leads the migration of the organization from an IT-enabled to an IT-led enterprise. So VN, my first question to you is, how has COVID impacted Ashok Leyland? And what are the changes it has brought about in the organization's work culture, processes, and the way you collaborate? And you can probably also talk about the sector, automotive sector, because this is a sector keeps seeing tsunami of technologies. So maybe some initial opening comments from you, and we'll again come back to you. Yes, over to VN.
Thanks, Chandan. And let me rewind, to March 2nd, 2nd or 3rd, or 1st or 2nd of March was a Monday, I remember. That is last year, 2020. And I walked into the office. And I walked into the office a very, very worried man. Just in the last 2-3 days before that, the TV channels were all flashing news, a lot of coverage on the COVID virus, the pandemic. So when I walked in, the first thing I did was to call my guys, my direct reports, and say, I think we need to gear up for this in terms of business continuity. We need to get our act together and then start preparing for some kind of a lockdown or whatever. And 18th of March, we went on when they declared about 10 days of work from home, right? We thought we will be back in the office on the 1st of April, but no one ever imagined that it would be such a long drawn kind of a pandemic, right? And then we had no other option. Then, 25th of March last year, the Prime Minister announced the lockdown, went on for April, May, and different categories of lockdown, and we were on a work from home throughout. And somehow, as a manufacturing organization, and since we were all fairly matured on our technology setup in terms of the equipments and the IT services and so on, we were able to quickly grapple and manage with the work from home kind of a concept. Went on and on. It's only recently in the last 2 months or so we have gone back to the office. So if you say COVID, if in the school days we were taught the 3 R's as reading, writing, and arithmetic. I guess what COVID has really taught us is it has redefined these 3 R's as reimagine, re-engineer, and reset. And you have words like adversity. There are certain words which were not very commonly used in the corporate world earlier before the COVID. Words like adversity, resilience, empathy, hybrid, all these key words have now become kind of very, very dominantly, very resounding and very dominantly used in the corporate world today, as organizations are more and more preparing themselves to build resilience and become an immune organization. And that's precisely what we are also trying to do. When I say an immune organization, build resilience, supply chain resilience, operations resilience, right? It's like, you building antibodies, right? And for building antibodies to fight against the virus and build that immune system, you need proteins, which are the building blocks. And these proteins are the tech enablers or the digital enablers for building the antibodies in the organization to make it really an immune and a resilient kind of an organization. So that's a kind of change which we have seen across industries and even in the manufacturing industry and in the automotive industry. So some of the things we did was our customers also changed, I would say, in the last, we were a commercial vehicle manufacturer, right? And people really were under the impression that commercial vehicle customers are a little slow in adoption of technology. But what we have really seen in the last 18 months to 24 months is the rapid proliferation of use of technology. So even our drivers today are all with smartphones, and there are a lot of apps which have been provided to them, which they use. So probably the customers have now kind of started using technology more than the OEs and the channel partners, I guess, today. So that's been a kind of a huge, because the demography of our customers has also been changing. So we went from, if you say before COVID, it was pick and choose. Now it is click and choose. We have provided online facility for booking vehicles. If earlier it was connect and contact, now it is contactless connect. So there are a lot of apps which the customers can use today to book their service, track their service, and so on. If earlier it was reactive resolution, today it is proactive resolution. Especially in the last 1.5 years, ever since we launched our BS6 vehicles, all the vehicles are being tracked from a central kind of a command control center, so that we are able to identify the problems well in advance, even before an actual failure really happens. So quite a lot of these changes, the use of analytics has also gone up during the COVID time. And so these are some of the things, and this is going to continue. I think, people say that there is a joke which is going around in the WhatsApp quite some time back. Who was responsible for driving the digital transformation? Was it the CEO? Was it the CDO? Was it the CIO in the organization? And somebody said, no, none of these, but it was actually COVID which actually drove this transformation. And we are seeing this happening across industry sectors. So coming back, you were asking about what are the trends. The automotive industry seemed to be at the cusp of major transformation, and it's been about 120 years since we started using the fossil fuels, petrol and diesel, and I think there's been enough which has been exploited now, and the world has now woken up to clean environment, clean energy, sustainability, and so on. So the automotive industry is in the cusp of a major disruption where your major prime mover itself is going to change in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. And you're seeing a lot of these changes happen. And this is quickly kind of encapsulated as what is called CASE, connected, autonomous, shared, and electric. Today, all our vehicles are connected today. There's so much humongous amount of data which capture from our vehicles today. Every vehicle, truck which is running on the road for us is all connected today. We capture about 2 to 3 terabytes of data every day. Autonomous is another, there's a lot of work which is going on the autonomous front, at least globally. But in India, I guess it's going to be a while. It's about 15, 20 years away, because we need to get our basic infrastructure right for autonomous. We need to get our roads right first. We need to have our traffic lights working first. We need to have the lane markings on the roads properly, which is not there. The basic infrastructure is not in place for us. And then, of course, your shared mobility, which you're seeing a lot of traction. There's a lot which is happening on the kind of mobility as a service. I will talk about it later. And finally, of course, the electric vehicle, which I truly believe electric is going to be only transitionary, because you're seeing a lot of other alternate fuels really coming up, whether it is CNG, whether it's LNG, whether it's hydrogen fuel, which is going to be the end state, I guess, going forward. So it's very scary if you look at the future, but it's also very, very challenging and exciting as far as the automotive industry is concerned. Thanks, Chandan.
Right. Okay. So I would, I would like to now invite RG, and I want to at least say a few words about RG. So all of you know him as very successful industrialist, but I also wanted you to know that he is passionate about quite a few initiatives which are for societal good. And if you go to NCR, you see pollution. And RG has actually leveraged this problem of pollution. He has actually used agricultural waste to convert it into sustainable pepper. I wanted all of you to know that he's also the vice chairman in the Punjab State Planning Board in the rank of cabinet minister. And he has set very ambitious goal for his company. We are doing a lot of research along with RG, and I wanted to request him to share his thoughts about upskilling. I mean, did he realize the importance of upskilling before COVID? What are the changes and challenges he's seeing in upskilling employees? And more importantly, about changing mindset at different levels of management. So over to RG.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Thanks a lot. It's a great listening, Mr. Venkatesh Natarajan. And good to listen that how the COVID has changed the mindset. I will simply say and put it, when you use the word empathy, I will simply say in COVID, the key teams or key leaders were more scared to be available to the COVID as compared to the people on the shop floor. So the helplessness of the top leadership had really made and proved that the people at the shop, people available, are fully geared to absorb the technology, which we never thought of. The success came through the people who were working during the COVID, maybe on the roads, maybe in the hospital, maybe somewhere else, when they start using technology where we thought they will not be able to absorb as quickly as they are. So why I'm saying so, the question is totally related to de-skilling and upskilling kind of thing. So when we talk of upskilling, so my only question is, we talk of upskilling, but we never talk of de-skilling the processes. So the de-skilling is equally important. The de-skilling takes place by a lot of technology intervention, a lot of process interventions. So they really make you de-skill. During the COVID, I think a lot of things which were done manually probably was de-skilled and gone on an IT platform. So de-skilling is very, very important. Upskilling happens after the de-skilling happens. So the possibility that we have to see which all roles, which all work culture where those things which have been done, which are been used as skilled or used as been experienced, and they have been as successful. So how to really and to de-skill and to upskill, the comfort zone and the age are the two headwinds. If the people are working in a comfort zone and there's an age factor to that, where they have seen a success in doing the similar manner, possibly are the challenges which, unless those 2-3 challenges are converted into opportunity, upskilling becomes really a challenging task. And we have seen how the upskilling took place, even in inventing the medicines, inventing the COVID jabs, done in the span of 1 year. Which usually the world has taken more than a decade to find any kind of a solution for any kind of viruses, which has been the history now been done in 1 year. In terms of when we say change management, transformational change management, usually the change management is not new to the subject. It is a very ancient, goes into even history, historically, maybe thousands of years back. So there are visionary leaders who are proactive, and they bring the change, and which even before the change has been talked about, the change has been looked about. And there are followers who are proactively, who see the success and they follow the change and they bring the change thereafter. And they're not the front runners, they are the follow, they are the lead. And some people still stay in a comfort zone and they carry the baggage. They neither are proactive nor reactive, and they don't change with the time, and they are what they are. So the question all depends on the upskilling is totally linked to the de-skilling, and de-skilling happens because if you always make upskilling as a role, then possibly we're also talking of the higher personal cost and higher thing, because something is not been de-skilled. Everything is, the skills are upgraded there, the cost also goes on that. In terms of the change management, it all depends on the leadership of the time. Are they proactive? Are they followers? Are they in the comfort zone, or they want to be status quo? So those all are the symptoms and signs which has proven. And sometimes, even sometimes those things are also depends on the stakes. How the higher the stakes are. Now, usually when the COVID came, all the corporates are on the very high stake process. They're on the very high stake. If the stakes are high, the changes happens with the pace, with the stakes. If the stakes are low, or the opportunities available, or there are some things available which gives you a survival even without change, the change is very, very difficult. So changes are by and large either compelled or visualized. And the skills are, I think everybody has a God-gifted skill, the opportunity of that, and secondly, to understand how to de-skill things the way the person is doing the things. And that's my quick thought, which I thought I must share. I don't know, they may not be relevant or maybe relevant to the particular part of that, but that's my own experience. If I see I started as a skilled worker in my life and I de-skilled myself, and now I never learned English in the school. I never learned English in the college. I only learned English speaking maybe after listening to you or listening to English news only in the TV. Probably while discussing with the senior people, I have not learned in any of the college or schools. So I call it upskilling or a change. I don't know what you call it.
Thank you.
So, just to add to this, Chandan, to what RG very beautifully articulated on change management, in all our transformations, that is so very critical in the management's role. So in the lighter way, and I say, if the senior management, if the management is not into change management, then you should change the management.
Right, yeah. Correct, yeah. Interesting perspective. So I would now like to invite Avijit. Avijit, you remember, the other day we were having a conversation on how do you make organizations future ready, and your response to that was, Professor, the first thing is we should be able to read the future. And I was interested in your views about how do we improve the ability of an organization to foresee the future. Over to you, Abhijit.
Thank you, Professor. I think that is a fantastic segue into what I'm going to talk about, because today's future, as we look at it, is a future which is data intensive. We are generating so much of data today. Every transaction that we do in business generates an amount of data, and this data, we had been sitting on a gold mine till we realized the benefit of it. And this is where analytics come into play. And we did hear thoughts about analytics, which kind of processes the data and to provide that information. Because today we generate data in as much as 4.7 GBs of data is used per day, per person in a day today. And you can see how much of data gets consumed. And imagine all the transactions that we do on the virtual world, creating so much of data repository. Do we make real good use of this data? Of course, we have started kind of seeing the benefit of it. We are moving from a data-based organization to that of an insight-based organization. And that is the journey where we see data changing its form through the weaves of analytics. And then once we have analytics, we get insight. And from insight, now today we are in the era of foresight. In other words, we are trying to predict the future, which Dr. Chandan Chaudhary has just spoken about. So how do we kind of blend all the historical transactional data to that of the future trends is where our algorithms with the use of AI and ML coming into play to create what is the predictable future. And in COVID, as we know, everything has gone through a reset. We call it the new normal, because nothing is what it was day before yesterday. And every industry, we spoke about automotive industry a little while back. We are talking about textile industry. We're talking about every industry that I can talk about. Every industry has gone through a reset. And they have realized that how they went about doing things yesterday is no more a normal today. You have to do things differently. And this is where the organizations have to kind of come together in seeing and making use of data and insight and analytics to get into the mode of predicting the future. And we can do that with multiple accelerators we have on play, but I feel an organization can play its part when we have taken into aspect 5 elements, which I typically call as the 5 pillars of a transformation. One part is strategy. The second part is about process. The third part is about practice. And the fifth part is about people. And the last part, technology, being the enabler of everything that I've spoken about. So all these 5 pillars have to come together in creating the future. And the sooner we realize the past, the sooner we analyze the past, and on top of that, add to what we foresee in the future, is what it will enable an organization to see what it is in store for the future as well. So back to you, Doctor.
Yeah, right. So I would now invite Andy, just a few words about Andy, though he was formally introduced. I must say that I must have interacted since COVID once in 15 days with Andy. And our conversation has been that many organizations are implementing strategy. And we find that implementation of strategy is a big challenge. And can we really leverage technology to ensure that success rate of implementation of strategy improves? So, Andy, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor. So some great insights. So, I mean, absolutely surreal, right? All the points that we are hearing from proactive resolution, from unskilling, de-skilling to reskilling to foresee the future. What if we have an element of predictability of an implementation plan, that how good the implementation would go before you spend n number of dollars or INRs, can be a little bit predict the success of the project or program. So one thing that is what we are seeing from especially post-COVID, that we are seeing as an organization, platformation of strategy or predicting a transformation agenda is becoming not only a new normal, but it's a must. And one of the things that in the strategy space, we haven't done much is bringing a machine learning mindshare, which means that if you really see the strategy space, we have done a lot around intuition. Okay, we have done a lot around great documentation of understanding the as-is and to-bes. What about we actually can predict that or do the as-is to be on a platform? So one of the things post-COVID that we are seeing a lot is, do I understand the problem well? Should I spend a good time on the problem and the ranking of the problems, the road mapping the problems, and then jumping into the solution? So we are seeing a lot of appetite with the leaders and the organizations in the US and India and Singapore, where there's a lot of passion towards knowing the problem well. So once the problem is known well, then the autonomous supply chain implementation or control tower supply chain implementation or sustainable supply chain implementations are becoming more successful. I mean, we already have success in supply chain. Of course, COVID has really taught us that where we were thinking we are not there yet. So what we are seeing in the strategy space, especially in sustainability, supply chain, manufacturing channel, is knowing the problem well. And the second thing that I would also mention is when I'm knowing the problem well, we need an insight. So Abhijit mentioned about data to insight, so systems of records to systems of insights. The questions that we are getting from the industry is how good the data is. I mean, we have a lot of data, but do we have any mechanism, even before we plan the future with data, can we have a better understanding of the stewardship of the data? And that's where I think where we are seeing as an organization, Ample Global as an organization, where we are working with partners and of course partners and customers, where we are seeing that a lot of focus between capability analysis, that if this capability is feasible, desirable, implementable, and in parallel to have a very much data stewardship, because when we're driving an insight, that data quality is becoming extremely critical. So now if you lay down the path of data-led transformation in the entire value chain, you have strategy, you have transformation, you have analysis of that transformation, and you do a closed loop monitoring to do a repeatability. And that's where the connectedness case that I think Venkatesh mentioned is becoming extremely relevant. So it's all coming together, proactiveness. I mean, one thing we're also seeing, Professor, is how individuals in the organizations are unlearning and relearning things to even sell a product. It's no more a product selling, it's a solution selling. And that's where a lot of differences coming in for betterment, I'm saying, into the ecosystem. So strategy, we have completely demystified into transformation and execution. And once we do that, the crisis of the execution would be over. So back to you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Some very interesting comments, right? And RG, I wanted to know from you. I know you have some very ambitious goals that you have set, and I'm sure it would involve major transformation. And what are your views about challenges in moving from selling product to selling solutions? And if those organizations set big goals, say becoming 4 times in 4 years, uh, what are the challenges that you envisage for organizations which are very ambitious, big goals? What are your views, thoughts, and suggestions for companies? Over to you, Archie.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is when we say they are ambitious, they are big, they are difficult to achieve. This is the biggest challenge. I think I don't see neither they are big nor they are ambitious and nor they are into transformation. Practically, in industry where we are, and even we grow at certain size, that is very, very normal. And I think we have to be on a global scale if you are in the global market. If the market is not a constraint, if we will not expand, somebody else will expand. My first question to myself is, am I setting a very ambitious goal? Answer is no. Does it require a transformation? Answer is no. Yes. It requires only a steep learning curve with a young and vibrant team which can really absorb a latest technology. The latest technology means it's a very, very simple to say. If we go back to the era when I started my career, or when I started as an entrepreneur, we used to have 19%, 20%, 21% rate of interest, and the loan to equity ratio was 1:1, and the things was difficult. Any bank will find difficult to fund more than 100 crores or 200 crores at a challenge. And putting a plant or going for a civil works becomes a challenge because the automation in the construction was not there. And then we always strived on a policy where we call India as and I hate the word, but I was using the word because that's a very common phrase with all of us, cheap labor. I never found India as a cheap labor destination ever. The productivity to the cost was always lowest. It was not. So now the change has happened because the availability of the people is not there. What to talk of skilled, even unskilled is not available because the opportunity for them are too high. So even in the textile industry where we are in, so the challenge is to find a technology which requires a much lesser number of people. For example, we started with the first 17,000 spindles where we had more than 1,000 people working for us. Now we are 2 lakh spindle in one shed. The size has gone from 10,000 to 2 lakh spindle. You can see 20 times the size has gone as a one shed, and you only need 200 people. So the question here is, now you need people who are more productive. The technology, which is not only that, people are not willing to work in any kind of an ecosystem. If you're a worker today, he's not working for money anymore. He's working for more of hygiene conditions. He's working for more for his health. He's working for more where he can learn. So the challenge for us is that if you want to have a multiple capacity, the top management is looking for automation, the simplicity of work, and does not give a physical stress or a mental stress to people working there. So my question to first of all is that I don't see they are this ambitious. I call those as sustainable targets. If we don't do this, if we don't grow to their size, and we don't build an organization where people working are healthy, they are not stressed, and they are not giving their sweat, they're giving they're working. I always call it in a very simple manner that India is blessed with a very intelligent fingers, and they're blessed with a very intelligent mind. What COVID did, the intelligent mind start working from work from home, and intelligent fingers was still working on the shop floor, and we thought they will never get a COVID. So they will not get a COVID. either. So my mission is, first of all, I will not tell to myself or to my team that they are ambitious, they're big. I'll call them sustainable targets. So if we don't do this, we're not going to get sustained in a global market. And even we don't do this, we're not going to have a right kind of people working for us. If we don't do this, we'll not have a technology which can keep us in the pace, not only in terms of manufacturing, but also cash to cash cycle, the throughput time, practically your demand to the market, when you see the market and being in the market, days are gone when you take 6 months or a time. If you see even automobile and IT, Apple, the first Apple took many years. Now you see every year you find Apple 1, Apple 12, Apple 13, Apple 14, Apple 13 is there, 14 has been talked about. And when you talk with the upskilling and like that, how many people have been upskilled for the Apple, for the Apple, when Apple upgrade? How many people have been upskilled when millions of iPads or millions of IT solutions were sold across the globe? How many went to the university and been taught about? How many people took a training classes to get the best camera? Today, you find everybody is a good photographer. Everybody can manage the WhatsApp. Everybody can manage the best of the IT tools available. One cell phone has taken 46 applications, one phone, and people are upgrading themselves on 46 solutions every day, once a month. And today you see the nation which could not afford a marriage or a car of 20,000, today most of the people are having it 1 lakh plus a smartphone with them. There's an industry. So I will call, when I say these are not ambitious target, these are sustainable, these are must kind of things. You have it or you don't have it. That's a compelled circumstance, and that we have to see what rightly said that the management could not see when you saying that do the management is future ready? Can you forecast what the future is all about? Can you see what really needs to be done? The scale what we are planning is not the scale what is ambitious or what is being even as a greedy or a ambitious target. These are, I'll call it sustainable in terms of to being the market, needs technology which can help people to work. People are not going to work with the plants what I have at the moment. If I really want, I want a people who has a intelligent mind and intelligent finger, and the management should be, I always quote, should be, I will call it, they should be Einstein from outside and Buddha from inside. They understand how the human works, and they should also understand how the technology across the globe is changing shape and how one has to get aligned to that. That's a compelled, I will call again, say repeatedly, these are compelled reasons to grow to that size. These are not a very ambitious for me. Thank you very much for saying few things repeatedly, sir.
Thank you. VN, I wanted to know your views about data monetization. That is one. Second is how the business models changing, let's say, in your sector. Is it changing from selling vehicle to something else as a business model? So two aspects. One, how do you monetize data? Second is the business model changing? Over to you, VN.
And then, first of all, there are a lot of people today talking about data, and these are all cliches, I would say. We have heard a lot on data as a new soil, oil, data is the new currency. And I say data is not only the new oil, but the new soil today for organizations, because organizations have to work to make the soil very fertile for them to really grow, right? So that, and today you have political leaders talking about data and the power of data and AI. You have world leaders, you have business tycoons who have been talking of, corporate leaders who have been talking about the power of data, digital, and AI. So there's a slow realization across industries, and especially in the manufacturing industry, that data today is certainly an asset that needs to be managed like any other asset. Unfortunately, so far, data, the value of data has still not got into the balance sheet. Whereas you've got the IPs which have got into the balance sheet as part of the asset. It is only a matter of time before data is considered as an asset. and it gets into your balance sheet in your assets and liability statement on the asset side. So there would be a need for you to be inventorizing your data. And I recall what Andy was very wonderfully talking about, the importance of data, quality of data. So having recognized that data as an asset, organizations like us are working on building some very robust data governance framework to be managing data as an asset from the time you capture the data, you store the data, you compute the data, you archive the data, you consume the data, you archive the data, you secure the data, and you protect the data, right? And protecting the data, securing the data, especially from a data protection thing. We have the data protection law in India, which I guess hopefully should be tabled in the parliament in the winter session, and it should be passed because it's already overdue, I would say, because of the COVID, it was delayed. So having said that, so organizations are in various stages of recognizing this and then putting a strategy to see how they can treat data as an asset, and then do and work on very consciously on monetization. And generally, when you say data monetization, most of the people think it is it is a direct monetization where you make money, right? You kind of generate money through various things like offering data as a service or insight as a service, analytics as a service, your data platforms and so on, right? But I think there's a lot on the indirect monetization also, where you use data for improving efficiencies, your productivity and so on within the organization, and everything is business outcome based and an ROI based, so that you're able to put a number to everything what you're doing related to data, which is all about that indirect monetization. So organizations today should focus on both indirect monetization first, and you would find most of the organizations, majority of the organizations would be only looking at indirect monetization today. But direct monetization is something which not many people talk of, but in our organization, we do a direct monetization also. But it is important, again, I get back to saying organizing your data. And I say today, data has to be, if you realize that as an asset, and you're going to use that more and more critically going forward, that's going to be very, very critical as a business enabler for you, right? That's going to be, and especially the new age companies will be using data and digital very extensively. You need to be managing that data, so I'm keeping it ready for building applications at breakneck speed. So I said data has to be kept in the combat ready mode. What is this combat ready mode? Data has to be like a Indian fighter jet, which are all there, the Air Force base stations. And they say once they get a call, the command control gets a call, the Air Force, there is an intruder aircraft in the Indian airspace. Within few minutes, there is a fighter jet which takes off from any of these air bases, Ambala, whatever it is. Within a few minutes, it's there airborne, and then it goes and then intercepts that intruded aircraft and does whatever it is. They force it to land it in an airstrip or whatever it is. That is the kind of agility which is required for you when it comes to data also. Are you organizing your data so that it is combat ready? And that's why you have the concept of today, you talk of organizing a data, building a data fabric where you're able to get assorted data today, because you're dealing with just not ERP data, social media data, your sensor data, so many variety of data. Are you organizing it in such a way that you're able to consume it very, very quickly? You're able to build breakthrough applications, and that's where you talk about data fabric. What is it that we have done? We embarked on what was called a data democratization or a data-driven organization, because making people use data is not very easy. That is a cultural change that you'll have to bring in, and you'll have to work very consciously on pushing the organization to view data as an asset and then start using it in every facet of their operations, right? From the lower down to the senior most. Of course, when you get to the senior most level, at a strategy level, maybe your decision making and all that becomes more and more kind of fuzzy, right? But at least at the lower levels, looking at data and how can you automate even decision making is something which we are looking at as part of this data driven organization. So we are working on building this data culture, conducting these data maturity surveys to ask people, hey, where do we really stand in terms of use of data? And then have a set of initiatives and actions, so that you're able to move the needle. So lastly, on an example of data monetization, today, Chandan, as part of our electric vehicle, we have got about 100 vehicles, EV vehicles, which are running in India. And all these vehicles, electric buses, there are 50 in Chandigarh, there are 25 in Patna and 25 in Chandigarh. All these buses are running on a mobility as a service basis, where tech and data is playing a very major role. Meaning to say, the government is paying us based on per kilometer of running of the vehicle. They don't own the bus. We own the bus. We maintain the bus. We operate the bus. Drivers are ours. We maintain the bus. And everything is based on a consumption-based model, which is like a cloud-based model in IT. They pay us based on per kilometer of running. So that is the shift which is really happening, right? So moving forward, you're going to see, you were asking how it is going to change. Somebody alluded to that, saying the automotive industry will also move from being product centric to solution centric or service centric in the next 5 years or so, where you're going to see everything is going to be, it's going to be X as a service, XaaS, everything as a service. It could be battery as a service, charger as a service, and everything as a service. That's a transformation which you're going to see. That's a disruption which you're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years. And you're already seeing this across all the automobile sectors, whether it's a two-wheeler sector where Ola has come out with the electric car. And the 20 minutes video was more on the connected features in that particular vehicle rather than anything else. So I just wanted to sum it up to say tech, data, digital, AI is going to play a very, very major role. And organizations have now started realizing that, automotive companies have started realizing that globally and even within India, and getting their strategy and act together to kind of leverage on that. So much so to just to wind up this thing, I would say today, if we are building computers on top of vehicles, tomorrow we would be building vehicles on top of computers. That's the kind of disruption you're going to see. Thanks, Satan.
Right, thank you, thank you. Abhijit, I have a question, right?
Yes, please.
And we were discussing the other day that India has made a lot of progress. When you go abroad today and people look at you, and if you are working in the area of information technology and you are from India, they respect you. And I remember this was not the case when I went to Europe to do my undergrad. People didn't look at us like that. And today we enjoy a lot of respect. So my question is, many people say we can repeat the magic in the areas of manufacturing and service. Now, what are your views? What do you think about this school of thought that India can repeat this magic, not only in information technology, but in manufacturing and service? Over to you.
Thanks. It's a fantastic question and it's pretty close to my heart as well. So if you are talking of information technology, and today in India is well known across the world, as we heard a little while back, we have intelligent fingers, we have intelligent mind. Okay. Today, Indians are known because of their analytical mind and information technology. Whatever magic we have done across the world, take away the labor arbitrage part of it, but we are kind of the Olympic champions as far as information technology is concerned. But can we repeat this success in manufacturing and service? This is a fantastic segue to my topic, which is again very close to my heart, is on innovation. How can we say that as Indians, we are innovative? We have proven that in information technology. We have proven that by way of number of Indians present in research and development across the globe. In today's world, probably in NASA, the highest percentage of employees are from India. That means we've got all the brains, we got all the ingredients for that innovative mindset. What we are probably lacking in this country is the infrastructure that nurtures innovation today. And if I have to call out one element that is something that inhibits our innovation mindset today, is probably our educational curriculum itself. Today, if you look at education as one topic of interest for our Indians, do we really get the kind of education that nurtures innovative mindset? Probably not. We read textbooks, we mug up textbooks, and we vomit whatever you learned in the exams. we do not create that ample opportunity to broaden the mind and make creativity as a part of a curriculum at the very nascent stage. Go back to the basics is what I'll say. Go back to the nursery, primary education. Forget about rutting textbooks. Let's create a platform where education is an open platform. I remember when I went into my business school, the first exam that I was given was an open book exam. We were scared about open book exam. By the way, even with the books beside you while you're writing your exam, it doesn't even get you a pass mark. And that is exactly the test of education that is of India today. And why do you think Indians are shining, rather outshining their peers when they migrate abroad for their education? Because they are opening their channels where that innovative mindset is put to play, and you apply the knowledge in the real world. That application of knowledge is important, and that is why we need to kind of go back to the basics, change the way we're doing things. And as we heard about the importance of talent today in our workforce today we are having talent in various organizations, and many a times we see people doing repetitive jobs and they're being paid for it. Is that something that will earn us that laurel in the manufacturing and services sector? No. That is where topics like innovation, automation comes in. You want to automate the shop floor. You want to automate many of the tasks that are repetitive tasks that can be kind of delegated to the machine. But human has an important play, because human brain is an important element that needs to be considered. And that is where the seat of innovation is. And you have to make ample time available for human beings so that they can direct their energy and thought process on innovation. And that is why I will emphasize on the topic of innovation. If we cannot improve on our innovation, we probably will not be able to kind of repeat the magic, no matter how much Atmanirbhar we want to be out here in India. We need to have the right basics in place first.
All right, thank you. So before I open the floor for questions by the participants, Andy, I would request you to speak in very simple language. Take up a hypothetical organization from your experience, right? And I would like you to say, how do you leverage all this artificial intelligence, machine learning, data lake, to really try out new strategies for organization to figure out would the strategy work? So if you're able to take an example of an organization and run us through the process that you would drive to ensure that strategy is executed and you do not have surprises when you start actually implementing a strategy. Over to you, Andy.
Absolutely. I will take a couple of minutes here to take an example of a tier 1 automotive customer who would like to enable sustainable and green manufacturing on the floor. And also at the same time, they would like to do end-to-end visibility. So in this particular case, you would start with applying benchmarking, and when their peer shares how the peers are doing. So benchmarking is a component where you can bring outside in view data as well as inside biased responses, and you remove bias, you really get a good benchmark that, okay, if you would like to have a reduction of the green gas emission, if you would like to do a connected manufacturing, how many nodes should be minimally digital, how many more nodes should be connected, right, in a manufacturing. So the benchmarking is the first step. The second step would be to do capability analysis. When we say capability analysis, you would do a causal analytics between as is to be, remove silo from various groups like asset management, manufacturing, procurement, supply chain, really remove the silo, bring an overall capability analysis heat map. Okay, you apply there a little bit of machine learning patterns to see that which capabilities are interdependent, which capabilities are independent. The third thing you would do, you have an idea from that, you would try to measure that. And once you measure those, you have measuring points where you would do ESG reporting or others or any kind of manufacturing reporting, improve your OEE, overall equipment efficiency analysis. The fourth step would be to adopt and adapt this. And that only the adoption and adaptation will come when you bring personas in who would be using it. And the fifth one would be taking all these to a roadmap. In each of these 5 points I mentioned, benchmarking, capability analysis, performance analysis, I will call persona analysis / design thinking, then road mapping. These are the 5 big steps of strategy. And then we would connect everything by data. Everything would be connected by experience. Everything would be connected by, I would say, removing silos, bringing change together. And once you remove silo, change becomes easier. And I would say this is how you can bring an overall platformation around this manufacturing excellence, because this particular tier 1 OEM example I took in the automotive industry, they are implementing one by one. They implemented reduction of lead time from tier 2 suppliers. They implemented points of sustainability on the manufacturing. They implemented end-to-end visibility with mesh analysis, graph theories. Now they're implementing much more dealers, distributors, OEMs, all coming together and redefining their boundaries of their intellectual properties. But how much I should become a fourth revolution change maker, that I can share some of my IPs to my OEMs or some of my IPs to tier 2s. So the whole change is happening. And as we lay down much more of a platformation in strategy and execution, data is must. Prediction is not an option. It's a must too. So that's how you'll bring all together.
All right, thank you. So I would like to now open the floor to question. I don't know the system we are following, but I'm happy if people unmute and talk and ask question, right? Instead of somebody else reading it out. So I open the floor for question. Would somebody like to unmute and ask question?
Okay. I am Santosh Ramnaikar, professor in Department of Management, IIT Roorkee. Nowadays, we are having the buzzword of the digital leadership. And under the new policy of Education of Government of India, I would like to request you to give a roadmap how digital leadership can be developed with the collaboration of the IITs and IIMs in India.
Okay. Anybody would like to? Are you talking about, Professor? Are you talking about how digital leadership to be developed in educational institution? Is that the question?
Collaboration of educational institutes, right?
Yeah.
In national importance, like IITs and IIMs, because under new policy we see that is the industries are required to support this type of digital leadership. So what are the suggestions?
Okay. Any of the panelists would like to go?
I can take this.
Yeah, please.
So thank you for asking that question. Again, it goes back to the basics, as I said a little while back. Until and unless we have a strong collaboration with our industry and the institute at every stage, be it drawing up the curriculum, but not just limited to drawing up the curriculum, is kind of getting our students of the future traverse through the process of problem solving. And this is exactly where we lack today. We solve problems, but they're theoretical problems. We solve problems, they are probably kind of that would gain a PhD, for example. But we want to solve problems, which is the problem of the core, which is the problem, real life problem, which is of our infrastructure, which is of our economy, which is of everything that matters to the Indian life that exists on this country. And until and unless we kind of target ourselves to real problem solving on the ground, we're not going to be as practical as possible that we want to be. And that is why it is important for institutes and the industries to have kind of a hand in glove relationship in terms of drawing up the future citizens of India, and we have seen that, be it the IITs and the IIMs, they create a top-notch set of people. But we also have to also see the number of people who migrate to other countries after that. And this is where we need to stop the brain drain. We want our people to be enticed to staying back in India and contributing back to India to make India the nation which everyone is proud of, not just in India, but across the globe. Only when we do that, we will call ourselves successful. But today, we Indians are happy making other nations proud because we go and work for them and basically achieve the Olympic medal that I talked about for that country. We want that to happen for India.
Yeah, interesting. I had some comments, I think one of the problems for a moment, if I just focus on Engineering Institute and Management Institute, because I work for a management institute, and earlier I worked for another management institute. And so let me just focus on Engineering Institute and Management Institute. So if you look at engineering institutes in general in our country, barring a few exceptions, professors are not able to create passion among the students to love engineering. So many students, even in top engineering institutions, I'm not naming, when they're in the second year, they start thinking, when will this engineering get over? And maybe, I will crack CAT or GMAT, get into ISB or IIM. So I think that's one problem. The second is, it will be extremely important that collaboration between industry and academia is there in research, is there in learning, is there in projects. I want to thank Rajendra Gupta, RG, who is on the call. I remember when I had a conversation with him, this fourth industrial revolution, how do you prepare our nation? How do you make the nation prepared for the fourth industrial revolution? So he told me, Professor Chandan, if you all want to do a research, which is Industry 4.0 in the textile sector, I am happy to give the grant. And he gave us grant. We have been doing research on Industry 4.0 in the textile industry. Now, let me give you an example as far as management education is concerned, right? Venkatesh Natarajan, BN, Avijit, Andy, we all are connected. I know right now, as we talk with Avijit, along with me mentoring a set of 10 students, very bright students. So they are not only learning management at ISB, but they are actually doing live project of real transformation. One in an FMCG company, other one in a retail organization, right? Absolutely live project. And I think this kind of collaboration is very important. Venkatesh Natarajan, who is on the line, absolutely emerging technologies. We have been working together on student project for the last, I don't know how many years. All of them are live projects, live data, live projects. You have Andy on the call. He's based in New Jersey. And we have been working on projects where students working on how do you deploy artificial intelligence.
Okay, thanks.
So, any other question?
Thank you very much.
Any other question from anybody? Yes, please. Yes,
Yeah,
Professor
yes.
Reddy. Yes, Professor Reddy.
Just an observation.
Yes, there is another question.
At the outset, let me thank
Okay,
Mr.
so we have
Narayan
quite a few
Natarajan,
talks on
and,
the data and
Mr.
technology,
Rajat Gupta is
especially
already
related
not
to
there,
electric
for their
vehicles.
wonderful presentations.
I am Professor Arun Sahai. Earlier, I was CEO of an automobile company, and way back in late 90s and early 2000s, we produced electrical vehicles, where, as you right said, that it's not only about automobile and motion, but more about really data transfer, collection, and even for the maintenance, we used to collect data. And even when President Bill Clinton came to India in 2002, he had a ride on that electric vehicle. And going back, wrote to his CEOs of GM and Ford, Chrysler. So you are very correct that the Indian brain can do anything. But it's not that we do only abroad in India. Even in India, we do. The thing is supporting infrastructure. And even, I mean, USA with all technology has not been able to reach to, for electrical vehicle, to a level where China has reached. India, of course, is taking off. And I'm sure the number of electrical vehicle one day will be more in India than USA. So what's your comment on that? What's your, I mean, this?
Yeah. So I want to, I definitely want to request BN, but I want to make some comment, right? If you come to NCR, you will see electric vehicles, several hundreds of thousands of them, three-wheelers, electric vehicle. And in many places, you go to Gurgaon, you will find three-wheeler being charged with diesel generator. You find electric vehicle where motor coming from China, motor controller system coming from China, your battery coming from China, battery management system coming from China, and the body of the electric vehicle coming from China. What we do in India is assembling, barring a few exceptions. So I think, we need to focus on innovation. But I would request Venkatesh Natarajan, VN, to say a few words on this question.
I think it's a very valid point. And first of all, I would say the vehicle is going to be more and more commoditized today in the future. It's already happening. And with all these alternate fuels and all that, vehicle is going to be more and more commoditized. And you're seeing this happening in all the sectors. Now, today, in the two-wheeler sector, and this is all challenging the traditional players, both in India and globally also. When you take, for example, two-wheeler manufacturer, electric vehicles, you have so many new companies which have come now, which are all challenging the traditional players, the giants here, both in India again and globally also. So you're going to see a kind of a big shift in this whole landscape, in the automobile landscape. While it's very, very true, and you rightly pointed out that China seems to be leading as far as electric is concerned. But I think if you look at even Europe and all that, some of these countries have really, caught up. And in India, thanks to the government, I guess there's a lot of push from the government for alternate fuels, which is not only electric, but we are also pushing for now. You're seeing more and more with the diesel prices hitting the roof now. In our industry, we are seeing more demand for CNG vehicles now, and LNG vehicles and biofuel, which the Minister for Surface Transport seems to be now pushing. So you have a host of these alternate fuels which are coming up. And what is going to be, and I made this point even earlier, that electric to me seems to be only transitionary, right? It's going to be there for some time. And I was saying in the next 10 years, we probably are in the slog overs of a T20 match, or I wouldn't say a T20 match, is a test match, because 120 years we have had the fossil fuels running, right? So we probably are in the last 5 overs or the 10 overs now of the diesel and the petrol vehicles, which in the next 10 years, probably it will not go away completely, but you will find a larger majority of vehicles which are running on alternate fuels. So if you have to see a petrol vehicle engine, IC engine on the whole, in the next 15 years, you probably need to go to and visit a museum to see a IC engine working. That's going to be the kind of change which we will witness in the future. So that's, so I mean, and every day, at least I've seen in the last 12 months, there's been so much of buzz around, electric vehicles. Today, I was reading an article where some cement company or so, they have now they've just acquired a couple of one or two electric trucks. So electric vehicles have got into the truck segment also today, right? And that's going to be a game changer. So what's going to happen to all the automobile companies who are specialized on prime mover technology, their expertise on developing engines and all that? Over a period of time, your skills, competence that is required in the landscape, your skill landscape, your competency landscape in an automobile industry is going to completely change. It's going to be more and more of battery technology, power electronics. What is it that you're going to do with data and digital and AI? And we are already seeing this happening when we talk to investors. And we have got a new company for EV, which was carved out quite recently. It's called Switch Mobility. We have in India also. We find that all investors, more than talking about vehicles, they talk about what are you going to do with the data which you will be capturing, and what's the kind of differentiation are you going to really provide. So a lot of exciting things happening, and you will see a lot more of this happening, and in the next 5 years, I guess, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, Professor Reddy, you had a question.
In fact, that brings to my mind another question. What you said is absolutely right. The electronics, the data electronics, then all the data infrastructure. But when we talk, I'm basically from automobile industry, so I'm really keeping that as the context. If we talk of this, the real issue is the battery. The real issue is the technology. The data, power electronics, all that is developing and has developed to an extent where it can compete. But battery is one hanging problem, and in battery, really lithium. So how our technologies and really data sciences can help us in getting lithium in adequate quantity?
Yeah, Abhijit, would you like to take that question? Or anybody else with the panel?
I'm repeating.
Yeah.
You was your topic mainly. You had said about electrical vehicles, and then Professor Permais, we talked about the motor, the controller, and all. But if you take electrical vehicle, battery is the real issue. Tesla has put up a big battery plant. Even in India, Tatas are thinking of. But battery, the real problem is lithium. Now, how that electronics technology or data sciences can help us get more and more lithium sources, its extraction, its utilization, and battery.
I think a quick answer to this is, well, a very valid point. And the question is to what extent, lithium will be there available, right? My personal view, as I said, is these are maybe very transient technologies. You will get into more a long-term technology in terms of other alternate fuels. You're talking of hydrogen fuel and so on. We will only have to see how things really take shape moving forward. But I think with technology in today, with battery management systems and all that, even today on our buses which are running, we capture a lot of data related to the battery performance, right? You have technology which can capture data at the cell level itself, and data related to your charging process and so on. So to the extent where we use analytics today, whenever there is a tender, we are able to even analyze what kind of a battery pack is required for a particular application, right? Using the data which we already have captured from the vehicles, so that you are able to size up your battery based on the application to which it's going to be put to use, and especially in a kind of intracity kind of an application. So I think, yeah, so there's a lot which we are doing, I think, on capturing data and analyzing related to battery. But battery as such, lithium and all that, I think there are experts who can answer that. We will have to see how it really pans out in the future.
Yeah, if I may add, I think lithium ion battery is probably what we are seeing today. But real emphasis is going into more greener alternatives, like for example, hydrogen fuel cells. These are something that is something that we need to look at, because one, hydrogen is easily sourceable compared to lithium, which is scarce across the world. And there are certain monopolies we also know about, countries who are sitting on lithium sources, as well as how much of blood that gets shed in sourcing lithium as well. So while the entire world is waking up to sustainable energy, sustainable procurement, sustainable sourcing, and ethical procuring as meant as well. All these will play a part in terms of determining which source ultimately we kind of go back to in terms of driving our mobility solutions of the future as well. I think lithium ion is something I'll probably call it out as a temporal solution at this point of time, but very soon we're going to see other alternate sources as well.
Right. So I think we are coming towards the end of the panel discussion. I wanted
Thank you.
a short comment from RG. If you are connected, RG, we wanted to hear from you. You do a lot of export, right? And what is the difference you see when you compare doing business in the international market versus doing business within the country? RG, can you hear us? RG, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm very much there. I can hear you.
Yeah, so my question is that you do a lot of business, you export to, huge percentage of your total, big percentage of your total business is through export. What difference do you see in doing business when you do export versus doing business within India? And a parting comment, about today's panel discussion, right? If you have to give one suggestion.
Well, you see, it's very, very true that data is very, very important in forecasting. This data is very, very important. For example, we manage every shelf of our retailer. We manage every till of our retailer. We manage every distributor network audit, right from our purchase, supply chain management to process to their OTIF and to the profit. We manage which are a product are making profit for them, which are selling in which areas, which territories, which cities, which on that. And we focus things practically on the total market-based data, and probably we are totally in sync with our, and practically we map the consumer. We map the consumer through thousands of stores and thousands of planners, and we work on colors, designs, and also the white spaces that which are selling, which are not selling, which are selling to the competitor. We map their competitors also. We map our competitor also. We map customers' behavior also. We map also like the gender to age to school to festivals. Those are a very, very in-deep study and fashion. And we do realize from the fashion that we are by and large 1 year down the line from apparel fashion. So whatever happens in apparel industry in terms of colors, in terms of the feel, the same happened to home textile thereafter. Same in a paper, same in chemicals, same we also see in dyes and chemicals, even inflow that what kind of dyes and chemicals. Data is a great in thing, right? Somebody was suggesting the data is like how data ready you are to see a combat in the air, the combat in the marketplace. The challenge is how strong we are and how nicely we are working on the information or the data is available from multi sources. And today the ERP or all the models in terms of the sales, marketing, banking, customs, the nation importing, nation exporting, the technology supplier to the country, to like India, technology supplier to the countries like China, and the technology being produced in terms of, so those are very well documented part of that. And the second part is how sustainability, how things are being talked about in terms of how you really bring on that. I totally in agreement with that. Today, if you really want to sit together and work out And practically, जो था ना कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में, today data is become so relevant, and you can really, how you really knit the data or knit the information, I'll not call it data, knit the information for future ready, how you really knit the information, and how you really, sometimes a customer doesn't, like for example, the Walmart, Targets and JC Penney's, or we are only few percentage, less than 1% of their total revenue or 2% of the total revenue, where we are 30 to 40%. Our stakes to see data and presenting their data, what they would like to see. Sometimes they miss on the data because we are not integrated in the pie. So that's very, very important, how this data becomes information and information become information, and how you really collate the competition, the marketplace, the consumer behavior, and the supply chain, right from the seeds being sold across the globe for the cotton, right from the kind of seeds being sown across the cotton, the ginning to the end to dyes and chemicals, the end is a complete, and how strongly you master the art of making this data good to yourself. Now, visualizing is like in a path lab, and is like a pathologist or a radiologist. He can see how he reads into the data. That's very, very important. One is the raw data. Second is the intelligent data. Third is how you presume, how you predict. That is every entrepreneur, every businessman, every person is a pathologist. Finance want to see data their own way. Designer want to see the data own way. The marketing want to see the data own way. So there are different kind of people who had a different mindset to read the same information data and then becomes to a business conclusion. And that sometimes, if you're right by 60 to 70%, that's not wrong in that.
Right, thank you. So over to the organizers. I see it is exactly 6 o'clock. So that was the time given to me. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such an insightful discussion. Now, we would like to invite Dr. Bhimram Yetri, sir, Director, IIM Nagpur, to give us some concluding thoughts about the panel discussion.
We cannot hear Professor Maitre. We are not able to hear.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You are audible. Yes, you are very
So,
audible.
Professor Chandan Chaudhary and respected Rajinder ji, Chairman Trident Group, Abhijit Datta ji, Managing Director, Accenture Technology Solutions, Venkatesh Natarajan ji, President and CDO, Ashok Leyland, and Anirban Bhattacharya, Chairman, AMLO Global USA. I think it was a great discussion by the great CEOs of the globe, and a lot of insights, and particularly importance of data and how to store the data and manage the data and how the future is look like. I think as Abhijit ji rightly said, sometimes in future probably some of the things what we see, they are going to be in the some of the exhibition kind of things people may see in future 5-10 years down the line. So world is going to be entirely different. As the conference title, it was leading business in a fluid world, and this topic was very apt, and as always Professor Chandan Chaudhary, very interesting and interesting way he conducted this panel discussion, and I am sure a lot of insights all the participants got out of this. And thank you very much all of you for accepting the invitation and joining the panel. It is a great panel discussion, and making this conference a grand success. The CEO panel will play a very, very significant role for the grand success of this panel, and we wish this particular conference, because of all of you, It has already, this is the second day and tomorrow is the third day of conference, and this is going to make a mark. And this conference has set benchmark in India with 1,000 plus registrations, 1,437 authors, and more than 2,000 participation. I think all the people from different channels and YouTubes and even online, Zoom and face-to-face, they are listing the interactions. So once again, thank you very much for accepting invitation and also providing the insight how challenging is the future world and how interesting to find out the unlimited possibilities in coming years. Thank you very much once again, Professor Chandan, and the entire CEOs of global CEOs of the different organizations. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much once again.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.
As a token of our appreciation, IIM Nagpur presents a book, Pritam Singh, The Alchemist Guru, by Asha Bhandarkar and Suprabhat Kumar to all our panelists and moderators. The book has been displayed. We will be shipping the book to you shortly. We would like to thank our panelists, moderator, our professors, supporting staff, and the students that have helped to make this event a memorable one. And wish all the participants a very healthy stay at IIM Nagpur. We request all the participants online to share some few reactions over Zoom while our team takes few pictures. We would like to invite everyone present over here for a group picture. Thank you and stay safe. Sir, you are in the house. On the house. Thank you everyone for joining the meeting. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Professor Chandan Chaudhary. It was a great panel discussion. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Look forward to see you at IIM Nagpur campus soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Good discussion.
Thank you. I sign off. Okay, Professor Maitri, I sign off now.
Very good discussion.
Yeah.
Chandan sir, very good discussion. Good panel.
Thank you.